I never liked chocolate.
Devali.
Okay, so we are live now, and the recording has also started. What I will do is I will make. So Atimadari, I will again make you the host, or Aritra. So,
Anyhow, Prabhuji.
Have you made me the host?
okay, I'm making you.
Okay.
But what I will do is I probably will connect through the phone because this is not working.
Actually, the difference today is the only thing that may have changed is I have logged in through my phone. I have not logged in through my computer.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So let me try. I will also join through mobile. Okay, so Arita, you have to let me in.
Oh, I'm seeing that. Oh, admit. Okay.
Recording in progress.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna. Okay, now you are able to hear. It's not echoing.
Yeah.
It's echoing.
Oh, you have to log out from one place.
Let me try to log out from that part.
Are you logged in from two places? Computer and phone?
Yeah. Now can you hear?
It's okay now.
Okay. So now let me start. Okay, Hare Krishna. So
Yeah.
now you are able to hear and view.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering how will I keep it like this in this position?
You don't have do you have a stand, or you can make the temporarily stand against something?
Yeah.
Books, monitor.
Let me check. I can do something. Is this okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah. So I was okay. Let's recap. Om Agyanti Mirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshurum Miritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. So in the last class, in the part 1, we have discussed about the attempt by Mother Yashoda to bind Lord Krishna. And we also discussed about the glories of Kartik month and the glories of Damodar Lila, and how every pastime in Kartik month is connected to Srimati Radharani ultimately. So we have discussed half of the Lila of Mother Yashoda binding Lord Krishna, and today we'll be discussing the other half. So we'll be continuing from the verse number 13. So Yashoda Maya is churning butter, and then Krishna appears. He was actually sleeping, but somehow he becomes awake, and then he appears in front of Mother Yashoda in order to have milk from her. And Mother Yashoda is busy churning butter, and but seeing the stubbornness of Krishna, she leaves all that and she starts feeding Krishna. And then she realizes that there was a milk which was boiling on the stove, and it was about to overflow. So somehow she neglected Krishna, and she immediately ran towards the milk to save the milk from overflowing. And somehow Krishna is actually very angry because of this. So now he he breaks the pot of the butter, and then he is also playing mischief, and he's also breaking many pots of yogurts. And then he goes to another room, the storehouse, where he's seeing a lot of pots are there, and then he starts breaking each and every pot, and he's trying to have yogurt and butter. And he also starts distributing to the monkeys and the cowherd boys. So all this we have discussed till now, and then we know that how Mother Yashoda, she catches a stick, and then she starts chasing Krishna, and Krishna is also very stealthily he's trying to run away from Mother Yashoda. And somehow Mother Yashoda is able to track the running of Krishna, because there are marks of his footprints, because of the spilling of the yogurt and butter inside the room. So she's able to track through the footprints of Krishna, and then she's having a stick, and Krishna is afraid of the stick. And Krishna is telling Mother Yashoda not to beat with the stick. He's very afraid. So I think till this point we discussed, which is verse number 12. Yeah, now we'll be discussing verse number 13 onwards. Okay, so I think you can share the screen. We can start reading from Bhagavatam 10th canto 9th chapter 13th verse, and we'll be discussing the multiple commentaries of Acharyas.
Do you want me to share? Because I am on the phone today. I can still share. No, I can still share. It is 10 chapter.
Everyone is on the phone only, I think now.
10, so it's 10th chapter. Sorry, 10th canto. 13th chapter, is it?
Ninth chapter.
Sorry, 9th chapter. Yeah. Okay, 9th chapter and verse number 13. Okay. Right. Okay. 9/13. What happened? 10th chapter. (09/13). Why can I not find the chapter? Right?
Find not means
10th canto, chapter 9, right? Chapter 9.
verse 13 to 14. It's together.
Okay. I understood. Okay, good that you said that. It's together. Share content. Share screen. Okay. Let me know when you can see. Huh? Can you see? Can you see the screen?
Yeah, I can see the screen.
Wait, this is 12. I'm going on. There you go. Okay.
Okay, so you can start.
Okay. Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 9, verses 13 and 14. Na chantar na bahiryasya na purvam na pichaparam purvaparam bahischantar jagato yo jagaschayah tammatvatmajam avyaktam martyalingam adhokshajam gopi kolukhale damna babandha prakritam yatha. Synonyms: na, not; cha, also; cha, also; anta, interior; na, nor; bahi, exterior; yasya, whose;
I
na,
think what we can
neither.
do, we can skip the synonyms because it will
I
take
would
time.
say,
Anyways, we
yeah,
are
it's
late.
going to take a lot of time. Yeah, translation by His Divine Grace, says Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no beginning and no end, no exterior and no interior, no front and no rear. In other words, He is all-pervading. Because He is not under the influence of the element of time, for Him there is no difference between past, present, and future. He exists in His own transcendental form at all times, being absolute beyond relativity. He is free from distinctions between cause and effect, although he is the cause and effect of everything. That unmanifested person who is beyond the perception of the senses had now appeared as a human child, and Mother Yashoda, considering him her own ordinary child, bound him to the wooden mortar with a rope.
Okay. Can you again stop sharing the screen so that my video will be visible? Okay. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he actually mentions that Krishna is beyond space and time, and he cannot be measured or calculated by Vedic knowledge, and he's only available by devotees. So this is the essence of Srila Prabhupada's purport. And then Sridhar Swami, who is the first commentator on the Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has a lot of regards and respect for him. And Mahaprabhu also says that whoever comments on the Bhagavatam should be in line with Sridhar Swami. So he has a lot of regards for Sridhar Swami, and whichever commentators they were commented on the Srimad Bhagavatam, they give all due respect to Sridhar Swami as the original commentator on the Srimad Bhagavatam. So what Sridhar Swami says here is that binding happens when exterior is covered. So it is possible to tie something which has front and back sides by tying it around. And so Sukdev Goswami says that this is not the case for the Lord, because that's how he is speaking this verse, that there is no exterior, there is no interior, there is no front back side of the Lord, because he's all pervading. And then Sridhar Swami says that moreover, binding a thing that can be pervaded is done with something that pervades. So you can only bind something which is pervading by a thing which is pervading itself, right? So he says that Sukdev Goswami means that what she tried to do is exactly the opposite of that. In addition, with he cannot possibly be bound because nothing is different from him. So this is a comment by Srila Sridhar Swami. And then Sanatan Goswami mentions that she bound him tightly to the motor with a rope, and the rope was soft, used for churning, and fabricated by the boys tending the cows and by others. So it is understood that he was tied up around the belly because he's well known as Damodar. That is not stated here, but it is mentioned in Harivamsha. So it was simply for the peace of mind. This is the comment by Sanatan Goswami. And then Jeev Goswami says that whether he is Vyakta, manifest, or unmanifest, or Vyakta, he cannot be implied. So that is an attribute related to his inconceivable Swarup. So both of them can simultaneously occur because he has limitless power that are mutually contrary and non-contrary. So since everyone is because the characteristic of the Lord is that he is inconceivable. So there are certain evidences from scriptures that Jiva Goswami is actually quoting in his commentary, and I'm just sharing a few of them because I think these are very important ones. So this is he's quoting from Mahabharat Bhishma Parva 6.11. Indeed, one should not link by logical reasoning the states of being that are inconceivable. What is different than the three gunas is a sign of what is inconceivable. And then he's also quoting the Kurma Puran, and this is a very beautiful verse. In fact, this is actually a very important verse in order to prove the all-inclusive nature of the Supreme Lord. So it is stated that he is neither coarse nor infinitesimal. He is coarse and infinitesimal at all times. So he is both. He's both and he's not both. Okay. And he's said to be colorless at all times. He is dark blue. His eyes are reddish at the corners because of a connection with Aishwarya. He whose motives are contradictory is called Bhagwan. So a wonderful definition of Bhagwan here. We can clearly understand that how the nature of the absolute truth is actually all inclusive, which means that all contradictions are resolved in him. And then another verse from the Narsimha Tapani Upanishad. So it states that the fourth state and not the fourth state, the soul and not the soul, fierce and not fierce, heroic and not heroic, great and not great, Vishnu and not Vishnu, blazing and not blazing, facing everything and not facing everything. This is given in the Narsimha Tapani Upanishad. Okay, and then Jiva Goswami mentions that, moreover, it should be known that this motor was another one which happened to be next to a gateway, because Krishna will go near the pair of the conscious trees, which is the Arjuna trees, which were suitably in front of the gate. So it will be described that the trees were conscious. And then Jiva Goswami also quotes from the Krama Sandarbha, stating the Harivamsha, that these two trees were conscious. And the gopis, they were, this is mentioned in the Harivamsha. Jiva Goswami is quoting Harivamsha in Krama Sandarbha. And he's saying the gopis actually said to Yashoda Maiya that those two Arjuna trees, they are conscious and they fulfill the requests in Vraj. So whatever desires you have, they will actually fulfill. In that sense, actually, they are conscious beings. And we know that every tree is a Kalpavriksha tree in Vraj. So this is by Jiva Goswami. And then, and I'm, I just wanted to clarify that I'm not providing entire commentary of all the Acharyas. I have collected only the essential commentaries of the Acharyas according to my understanding. So I'm just sharing those. So there are more commentaries by these Acharyas, but I'm not sharing them. So Vishwanath Thakur and in many cases, Sanatan Goswami, Jiva Goswami, they have the same commentary, so which is not repeated. And Srila Prabhupada is also quoting, most of the time he's quoting Vishwanath Thakur, Sanatan, sometimes Sanatan Goswami, sometimes Sridhar Swami, like that. So I will not be repeating the commentaries of the Acharyas. So they may have similar commentaries for the same verse. So I will not share that. Now Vishwanath Thakur says that she bound him like one binds a material person, although he is a mass of consciousness. How amazing is the power of her prema. That is, so wonderful that the Lord, who is a mass of consciousness, which is, the sum total of all consciousness, he is being bound by Mother Yashoda, like that. And then there is another commentary, which is Siddhanta Pradipa, where it is stated that Krishna did not want to be tied up, since he actually wanted to escape. But Yashoda desired to tie him up. So with this in mind, whom is he conquered? By whom is he conquered? So Sukdev Goswami speaks 6 verses to illustrate Yashoda's victory. And thereby he shows that the Lord has an inherent and amazing Shakti, which is inconceivable. So the transcendental avidya Shakti responsible for the forgetfulness or opulence of Lord from Vrajvasis. So this is, there is a transcendental avidya potency, avidya Shakti, which is actually responsible for the forgetfulness of the Vrajvasis. If you remember, we were discussing about the arrangement of Yogmaya, how the Vrajvasis, they forget certain things. And even Krishna forgets a lot of times in order to add flavor in the pastime. So this is the transcendental avidya potency. So it has a material counterpart. And Jiva Goswami says in Bhagavad Sandarbha and quotes Gopal Tapani Upanishad. So he says that Gopijana Vallabh evokes the gopis' expertise and ignorance. It's an aspect of the Samvit Shakti of the Lord. So this transcendental avidya potency is actually an aspect of the Samvit Shakti of the Lord. Okay, all right. So let's continue with verse number 15.
Do you want me to continue? Because it looks like Sadhimati is not able to read immediately.
Yeah, it's okay, no problem.
Okay, I'll start sharing again. It takes a while to start broadcasting, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this one was done. Next. Okay. 15. Taddam badhyamanasya swarbhakasya kritāgashah dvi angulonam abhutena sandadhe anyasya gopika. Translation. When Mother Yashoda was trying to bind the offending child, she saw that binding rope was short by a distance the width of 2 fingers. Thus she brought another rope to join it. There is some delay also. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So Srila Prabhupada, he states in the purport that Krishna displays his opulences by killing the demons, and now he displays another potency, which is called the Vibhuti Shakti. So what is that Vibhuti Shakti? Basically, it means that unless I agree, you cannot bind me. So in spite of adding another rope, after rope, she failed. So only by devotion actually one can attain success, but that does not mean that one can control the Lord. Lord reveals more and more based on service and starting with tongue. So based on service and which starts with tongue, and that is chanting and prasadam. So this is Prabhupada's essential commentary. And then Sanatan Goswami, he states that concerning the Dvi Angulonam, the meaning is couple of fingers short. But this is a common expression. And so what it really means is a very short measure. It is like saying a couple of chickpeas. So alternatively, because he cannot be attained by jnana and karma, which are 2 of the 3, bhakti, jnana and karma. So we know that jnana, karma and bhakti, these are the 3 aspects of the conclusion of the Vedas. So that's how it is actually illustrated by saying that it was 2 inches short or 2 fingers short. So because he cannot be attained by jnana and karma. This is Sanatan Goswami's explanation. And he also states that she wanted to join another rope because she thought he wanted to escape. I think we discussed this earlier, that Krishna wanted to escape and Mother Yashoda was trying to bind him because she was thinking that maybe Krishna is very fearful and he may go to the forest. So let me bind him up. That's the reason Yashoda actually took the rope and she attempted to bind Krishna. So she wanted to join another rope because she thought he wanted to escape since he was very much afraid. She went here and there looking for another rope. Or she took a rope with one hand while she was holding him with another. So trying to catch another rope, and then she was trying to hold Krishna like this. So our maid servants cordially gave her a rope. So obviously Mother Yashoda had a lot of maid servants also. Although they may be engaged in different services at that period, but somehow Yashoda managed to ask them to get the ropes and they assisted her. And then Jiva Goswami says that the first rope was short by 2 fingers due to destiny. As for the next ones, each rope came up short because of protection that way by his potency of all pervasiveness. So by the Vibhuti Shakti of the Lord. So the first rope was 2 fingers short because of destiny. And then the other ropes which were added to the previous one, so they also became 2 fingers too short. That was because of the arrangement of the Lord by his Vibhuti Shakti. And then he also says that uh, even when there is prema, he is not submissive. So if these two things are lacking, which is a special kind of perseverance and his special mercy, which is born out of that perseverance of the devotee. So obviously we have heard many times that the reason behind the 2 fingers too short is 1 finger represents the devotee's effort or the perseverance of the devotee, and second one is actually the mercy of the Lord. So when these two things combine, only then actually the devotee will be able to control and bind the Lord. So therefore, it will be said that noticing that she was fatigued, out of mercy, Krishna allowed her to tie him up. This is the divine indication. So hearing the mother chastise the Lord, and hearing the that Krishna is crying, the coward ladies who were neighbors, they came and they gave ropes to Mother Yashoda in jubilation. So this is the commentary by Srila Jeev Goswami. Vishwanath Thakur says that the Vibhuti Shakti, the potency of pervasion, induced by his Satya Sankalpa Shakti, the potency of making a resolve fruitful, at once became manifest in his body and thought. So there was a wonderful exchange, conversation between the Satya Sankalpa potency and the Vibhuti potency. Which lady can possibly bind my master when he has this type of desire? Why should I be tied up? So Krishna had an attitude of not getting tied up. He didn't want her to tie him up. That was Krishna's stubbornness. But Yashoda was actually determined to tie him up. So these potencies, they are appearing in the Lord and they are assisting the Lord in his desire. But then what happens is there is another mercy. Vishwanath Thakur says that there is a third mercy, which is the Kripa Shakti of the Lord. So because of that Kripa Shakti, ultimately Kripa Shakti supersedes the other two potencies, which is the Vibhuti Shakti and the Satya Sankalp Shakti, and finally prevails over them. So because of that Kripa Shakti, ultimately the Lord decides that he should be bounded by Mother Yashoda because of her obviously intense effort and desire and perseverance. So actually Krishna was thinking that why should I get tied up? Because daily I want to go and I want to steal yogurt and butter in other people's house. Okay, but Yashoda was determined to somehow stop him from doing that. So ultimately the Kripa Shakti prevailed. This is by Vishwanath Thakur. And then Srinath Chakravarti, he says that, so this is the purport of the word Vi Angulonam, 2 fingers short. One is the devotee's exertion, the other is my mercy. I can be bound when these two occur. So we have heard about this. Okay, so next verse, 16th.
Who? Swati Mataji? Can you read?
Did you ask me? Sorry, I'm in between two kids
No.
screaming.
No. I know you're there, but Swati Mataji was
Okay.
probably going to read. I don't know if she can read now, but I'm anyways beginning the sharing. Can you see my screen? Yeah, sometimes it takes a while to start. Okay. Now going on to text 16. Yadasi tad api nyunam tenanyad api sandade tad api dvi angulam nyunam yadyad adatta bandhanam. Translation: this new rope also was short by a measurement of 2 fingers, and when another rope was joined to it, it was still 2 fingers too short. As many ropes as she joined, all of them failed. Their shortness could not be overcome.
Okay. So there is only one commentary to be shared here, which is Jiva Goswami commentary on this, the Krama Sandarbha. So he says that by fate, the first rope was shot upon seeing that she was obstinate and suitably indulging in that obstinacy. This potency of pervasion, Vibhuta Shakti, manifested itself at that time. Therefore, all the ropes were shot by 2 fingers. Yeah, so this is something that we already discussed in the last verse also, but I just wanted to repeat that same commentary in verse number 16. Okay, next.
Oh. 17. Evam swageha damani Yashoda tan sandadhaiti api gopinam mayan susmayantinam smayanti vismita bhavat. Translation. Thus Mother Yashoda joined whatever ropes were available in the household, but still she failed in her attempt to bind Krishna. Mother Yashoda's friends, the elderly gopis in the neighborhood, were smiling and enjoying the fun. Similarly, Mother Yashoda, although laboring in that way, was also smiling. All of them were struck with wonder.
Okay, yeah. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he says that the shortness of all the ropes added together must have amounted to widths of hundreds of fingers, but it was only width of 2 fingers too short. So this was the Lord's in Achintya Shakti. This is by Prabhupada. Then Sanatana Goswami says, even while joining the ropes with intense absorption, she became amazed while the cowherd ladies were smiling. They were smiling because each additional rope was 2 fingers short too, right? So they were all wondered because she was trying to bind Krishna, and she was thinking that, okay, because this first rope is only 2 fingers too short, so maybe I will just add another rope and she will be able to bind him. But that was also not happening, and so she kept adding more and more ropes, but it was again, so it was a funny incident, obviously. That's why everyone started laughing. And then Jiva Goswami says that Yashoda was joining all the ropes, those from the house and those used for the churning. And it is understood that on this day, Rohini had already been invited to the house of Upananda Maharaj, who is the elder brother of Anand Maharaj. And so on had gone there. Otherwise, she would have prevented that due to her Vatsalya Bhav. So, this is very interesting that Rohini was absent. She was not present there. Otherwise, she would have prevented the binding of Krishna. So this is all arrangement of Krishna ultimately. In the earlier commentaries, we also shared that how Krishna, he wanted all the gopas to go away. Like he didn't want any gopas to be near him. Otherwise, they could have created some kind of obstacle in this pastime. So that's why they were all far away from Krishna. Yeah, okay. Then Vishwanath Thakur says that she became amazed while all the cowherd ladies, female neighbors, were grinning. Oh, his waistline is as small as a clenched fist, yet it cannot be encircled with a rope that is 100 hands in length. His belly does not even bulge, and the line of ropes does not shorten. Still, the gap cannot be filled. This is one wonder. The second wonder is the gap was the same each time another rope was added. It was again 2 fingers short, not 3 fingers short, not 4 finger shorts, and so on. So this is by Vishwanath Thakur. And then Baldev Vidyabhushan, he says, so while the cowherd ladies were all grinning, this queen cannot even tie up a little boy. She too smiled and experienced amazement. Krishna thought, if I am tied up, my friends will laugh at me. So I should not be tied up. So Krishna wants to impress everyone. So in order to protect his reputation, he's also thinking about his friends, what they will think of him. So Krishna, somehow he does not want himself to be tied up. And then Vallabhacharya, so he says that when her anger subsided, she smiled. Afterward also, she got astonished, this time by observing that the gap was always 2 fingers short. She tied all the ropes, hence she is called Yashoda. By the derivation, Yashodadati Dyati Va. She's so called because she gives fame or because she destroys fame. So she gave him fame by nullifying her fame of being able to control him. So this is wonderful commentary by Acharya, and this is how Yashoda is trying to give fame to Krishna by nullifying her own effort, her own fame of being able to control him. Okay, so let's move to verse number 18.
Okay, verse number 18. Swamatuhu swinna gatraya visrashtakabara shtajaha drishtva parishramam Krishnaha kripayasit kripayasit swabandhane. Translation: because of Mother Yashoda's hard labor, her whole body became covered with perspiration, and the flowers and comb were falling from her hair. When child Krishna saw his mother thus fatigued, he became merciful to her and agreed to be bound.
Yeah, so Prabhupada says that although decorated with bangles and jewels, now see, this is very interesting. Krishna is not being able to bind up because he is using his transcendental potency, but it's not so difficult to bind Krishna because he's already wearing bangles and jewels, right? Which is kind of bounded around his limbs, right? So this is very interesting, and Prabhupada says this. So although decorated with bangles and jewels, he couldn't be bound by all the ropes in the house. They gave up the idea of binding him, but in competition, Krishna is defeated by his devotees, and hence Yogmaya was brought to work, and Krishna agreed to be bound. Yeah, so whenever there is a consistent effort by the devotees and they persevere, then Krishna has to submit. So that is arranged through his Yogmaya potency. And Sanatan Goswami mentions that in the reading Swamato, own mother, the word Swa own signifies that he was the recipient of motherly affection that was even more special than Devaki's, given that Yashoda is very own. Therefore, out of mercy, he agreed to be bound. Otherwise, he would not have been bound. So, what this implies is that if Devaki was in the place of Mother Yashoda, then maybe she may not have been able to bind Krishna. This was the exclusive privilege of Mother Yashoda herself. So, this is Sanatan Goswami. And then Jeev Goswami says that he was unable to tolerate seeing how hard his mother was exerting herself. And so when he relinquished his national obstinacy, his potency of pervasion, the Vibhutva Shakti became somewhat indifferent towards the ropes. And so she tied him up only with the second rope. The other ropes were not needed. So this is Jeev Goswami saying that other ropes were not needed, only the second rope was sufficient to tie him up. And then Vishwanath Thakur says, Yashoda would simply not stop trying to bind him. And so the other ladies told her. So he's still not bound even after tying all the ropes that were in the house. Yashoda, dear friend, this is not meant to be. Stop doing this. But Yashoda, who had the conceit of having a son, had a proud scheme. Before sundown, I will reach the end of this. Even if I have to use all the ropes in town. So Yashoda was truly determined. She was extremely determined to bind him up. So between a devotee's obstinacy and the Lord's obstinacy, only the former remains. Therefore, in this verse, beginning with Swa, Sukdev Goswami says that perceiving his mother's fatigue, only the Lord who is affectionate to his mother gave up obstinacy. Another reading is Swamato. So in the point of Kripa, out of mercy, only the Kripa Shakti, which is most luminous, and it is the empress or the Chakravartini of all the potencies. So this is what Jeev Goswami says, that out of all the potencies, the Kripa Shakti of the Lord is actually the empress or the Chakravartini. appeared, so this potency appeared there by itself, making the Lord's heart melt like fresh butter, and at once made the Satya Sankalp Shakti and Vibhuta Shakti that had appeared previously go within it at that time. So as I think this was Vishwanath Thakur who commented in the earlier verse, and same thing Jiva Goswami is also mentioning here, that there was a transcendental competition between these these two potencies. The Satya Sankalp potency and the Vibhuta potency was on one side, whereas Kripa was on the other side. So ultimately, Kripa Shakti actually defeated these two potencies. So the gap of two fingers was filled by exertion and mercy. For this reason, these two words are mentioned here: Parishram and Kripa. Exertion and mercy. The first one is perseverance arisen by bhajan in the devotee. Second one is mercy in him, which arises by seeing that, seeing the exertion of the devotee. The Lord is bound by those two. The condition of being shot by two fingers existed as long as those two did not exist. But when those two occurred, binding took place. Thus, it is understood that the matter of binding him with Prem was exemplified in person by the Lord in reference to his mother. Wonderful commentary by Jiva Goswami. Okay. Oh well, this is by Vishwanath Thakur. I'm sorry. Yeah, this was by Vishwanath Thakur. Yeah. All right. So let's proceed with the verse number 19.
Okay, verse number 19.
I can hear.
Evam. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Evam sandarshita anga harina vrityavashyatha swavashnepi krishnena yashidham shivaram vashi. Translation. O Maharaj Parikshit,
You're not able to hear. Hare Krishna.
can you hear me?
And we are not able to see the screen also.
The screen.
Have you shared, Aritra?
No, I think.
Oh no, I thought Mataji was sharing, going to share. Oh, you want me to share, Mataji? I can share, no problem.
Yeah, you can
Is-
share.
Okay, I have it open. Oh, start broadcast. Okay.
Translation. O Maharaj Parikshit, this entire universe with its great exalted demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and Lord Indra is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet the Supreme Lord has one transcendental attribute. He comes under the control of his devotees. This was now exhibited by Krishna in this pastime.
Okay. So Srila Prabhupada, he states that in the Upanishads, this said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead can run with more speed than the mind. But here we see that although Krishna wanted to avoid being arrested by his mother, he was finally defeated. And Mother Yashoda easily captured him. So then Prabhupada says that demigods fear Krishna, but Krishna is feared by the stick of Yashoda. And then Krishna is served by thousands of goddesses of fortune, but here he is stealing like poverty-stricken boy. These contradictions can only be understood by devotees. Krishna cannot be controlled by anyone and is fully independent, but from Ra's point of view, he becomes subordinate and controlled. So we know that there are two aspects of a particular Lila, the Apar Vichar and the Tattva Vichar. From the Tattva point of view, we understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there is no question of controlling the Lord. He is the absolute controller. But from Ra's point of view, which is the Apar Vichar, we can understand that when Krishna is orchestrating pastimes, he's like an actor on a stage, a dramatic actor on a stage. and depending on that, he will express emotions like just like a human being. So that's how most people are actually bewildered by his pastimes. But we have to understand that these are two different aspects of his personality. And the devotees, they are connected more to the ras aspect or the apar vichar of the Lord. Okay, then Sanatan Goswami, so he says that the word Hari is used to indicate he steals the devotee's heart that way. So you'll see in that verse, in this particular verse 19, the word Hari is used. And that is specifically used to indicate that Krishna steals the heart of his devotees that way. And then concerning Sandarshita, which means Samyak Darshita, completely demonstrated. So owing to the prefix Sam, a huge distinction with Brahma and other devotees of old, and even with Sri Yudhishthira and others who were favored by him as a guard, a messenger, a charioteer, and so forth, is implied insofar as he was not directly bound like that by anyone before. So all the comparison with all the devotees is made, and it is completely demonstrated. Sandarshita, okay, that Yashoda is actually the most fortunate devotee of the Lord. Okay, Jiva Goswami, he is quoting from the Chandogya Upanishad 4.15.3, and he's, this is a very important quote we can also use for our preaching. So it is mentioned that because all contrary things come together in him, he is the leader of the contrary. Wonderful verse. Because all contrary things come together in him, he is leader of the contrary. Right? So a very deep verse. And then he also says that so Jiva Goswami, he is emphasizing the quality of compassion in the Lord, and he's saying that this aspect of compassion in the Lord is not a fault. In fact, it is actually the greatest attribute of the Lord. And without this attribute, there is no question of worshipping the Lord. Because if Lord or if the Absolute Truth does not have compassion for others, for the living entities, then obviously there's no question of worshipping the Lord. So he's saying that the Lord is controlled by unconditional bhakti. His godly might is not diminished by this, but because it is wide awake elsewhere. So some may say that, well, the Lord is controlled by someone, or he's bounded up by someone. So that means that he's not the Lord, or he's limited in potency, or there is a fault in the Lord. But Jiva Goswami is actually defending, and he's saying that this quality of being bounded up by the devotee is not a fault; it's an ornament, and it is actually an attribute which is required for the Absolute Truth, so that the absolute truth becomes worshipable, right? This is the meaning. So, so although Krishna was tied up, he showed his power by saving Nalakuvara and Manigriva. So see, even if someone says that Krishna lost his power, or he was like an ordinary child, but no, that is not the case. Krishna actually did both things simultaneously. He was bounded up by Yashoda. At the same time, he also bestowed compassion upon Nalakuvara and Manigriva by showing his opulence. And we know how he showed opulence, by somehow dragging the grinding motor between both the trees and making them fall down, right? So, so rather, because he attracts everyone by the quality of compassion, his godly might doubles. So his might doubles, it does not reduce. Therefore, he inevitably becomes controlled by his devotees. A wonderful commentary by Jiva Goswami. And then Vishwanath Thakur says, so even while the Lord has the topmost supremacy, this bondage, which is the foundation of being controlled by Prem, is only an ornament, not a fault, as similar to what Jiva Goswami stated, on account of inducing the uttermost astonishment. So his being controlled by devotees, which is inherent in him, was fully demonstrated, Sandarshita, by Hari in this way, by a desire to eat. Although he is Atmaram, he fully delights in himself by means of non-contentment. Although he is Purnakam, his desires are fulfilled by anger. Although his nature is Suddha Sattva, by stealing. Although he has Lakshmi through fear and by fleeing. Although he induces fear to Maha, Kal, Yam and others, by being seized by force by his mother. Although he cannot be grasped by the mind, by crying out of sorrow, although he consists of bliss, and by being tied up although he pervades everything. So all the contrary characteristics of Krishna are quoted shared by Vishwanath Thakur. Wonderful. Then Baldev Vidyabhushan. So he says that someone may object, but by accepting bondage in this way, being the Almighty in person is ruined. Therefore, Sukdev Goswami speaks this verse. So being under the control of devotee was fully demonstrated by Hari, who is independent in this way. By stealing, although he has unlimited Lakshmis, by his hunger, although he is content, by his non-contentment, although he is complete, by his anger, although he is devoid of Maya, by his fear and by fleeing, although he is Kal, the death of death, by being grabbed by mother by force, although he cannot be grasped by the yogi's minds, by his tears of sorrow, although he is composed of bliss, and by being bound, although he binds everyone and pervades everything. So a very similar comment which Vishwanath Thakur shared and Jeev Goswami also shared. The Almighty's dependence on another is not a fault, because being dependent on devotee who is exclusively fixed on him is praised as a quality. Mercy is virtuous, otherwise by being disagreeable there would be a fault. So similar comments by Baldev Vidyabhushan, Vishwanath Thakur and Jeev Goswami. Okay, next.
Okay, sharing. So, yeah. So, Alisha Mataji is there. Mataji, would you like to read? I mean, I'm sharing the screen anyway. If you're interested, you can read.
Yeah, just the Sanskrit verse.
Yeah, the Sanskrit verse and then the translation. So we are on verse 20.
Is my voice clear?
Clear, very clear.
Okay. The thing is, I can't see the last two words of the first two lines. I think because of the screen, because of my Zoom screen. Yeah, I think now it's better.
Okay. It was my screen actually. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nemam virincho na bhavo na shrir api anga samshraya prasadam lebhire gopi yattat prapa vimukti dat. Neither Lord Brahma, nor Lord Shiva, nor even the goddess of fortune, who is always the better half of the Supreme Lord, can obtain from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Deliverer from this material world, such mercy as received by Mother Yashoda.
Okay, yeah. So Srila Prabhupada in his Purpadi states that everyone is Bhritya, which means servant, but compared to Brahma, Shiva and Lakshmi, only Yashoda got this mercy. Parikshit Maharaj became surprised and eager to know what they did in previous lives, that they attained such mercy. And then Prabhupada says that in this verse there are three negative pronouncements, na, na, na. And anything which is uttered three times, do it, do it, do it. One should understand that this is meant to indicate great stress on a fact. So in this verse we find na libire, na libire, na libire. The word vimukti dat is important and special from the 5 types of liberation. So here there is the word which is used, the vimukti word is used here. And this is a special word because it is something different from the other 5 types of liberation. So vimukti means special mukti. This is what Prabhupada says. And when one is situated on platform of Prem Bhakti, one has achieved special mukti. Therefore, word na is mentioned. Yashoda naturally acts in such way. She is a Nitya Siddha, an expansion of Ladini Shakti of Krishna. Such devotees, they cannot be Sadhana Siddha. So basically, Prabhupada is saying that Yashoda was actually a Nitya Siddha. Okay, now Sanatan Goswami, he says that Lakshmi is Anga Samashraya. So Lakshmi is actually someone who is resting on the body of the Lord. That's why she is Anga Samashraya. And this means she never experienced his quality of being under the control of a devotee. insofar as she is always on his chest. And his chest is only one body limb that she brought under control. Other sense is just the opposite. Since she does not feel inferior to him, that way she obtained his grace to some degree. So you'll see that Lakshmi, actually, she attained the grace of the Lord in a very restricted or limited way, not like Mother Yashoda. That's why Mother Yashoda's fortune is much greater than that of Virincha, Bhav, and Lakshmi, Brahma, Shiva, and Lakshmi. Then Jiva Goswami says that Virincha, the guru of devotees, Brahma, basically, the guru of devotees, and others, how an ideal example for Vaishnavas, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambho, Lord Shiva, and Lakshmi, an eternal abode, eternal beloved, had already obtained grace in the forms of their respective types of devotional service, right? So we know that Brahma and Shiva, they are the guna avatars of the Lord, and Lakshmi is actually the Lord's own self. Okay, so that way they have already attained a particular type of devotional service. From whom? From him who for the most part bestows mere liberation. By looking at this text, so Mukund grants liberation, but he never bestowed Prem Bhakti Yoga previously. And this is what Jiva Goswami is quoting from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 6th chapter and 18th verse. So the grace that Yashoda received was far greater than that received by Brahma, Shiva, and Lakshmi. So it is not possible that Yashoda obtained such grace by the boon from Brahma. So see, in the this is described in the 10th canto, 8th chapter, 48 to 52 verse. So Brahma himself can only ask for it. So Jiva Goswami is saying that how is it possible that Yashoda can ask this boon from Brahma to actually become the resident of or to become the associate of the Lord in Braj? It's not possible because Brahma himself is actually asking for it. Because we'll also see later Brahma, in the 10th and 14th chapter, 34th verse, Brahma is saying that, may I have profuse good fortune by which I will have some birth in the forest, in this forest, so that I may receive the abhishek of the foot dust of someone in Gokul, for whom Lord Mukunda is all in all. So when Brahma himself is actually eager to receive such a position, it is not possible that Yashoda can ask a boon from Brahma and attain that position, right? Because you cannot give something that you don't have. You can only give something that you have. So it's a wonderful point by Jiva Goswami. So somehow saying that, indicating that Yashoda is actually a Nitya Siddha, she cannot be a Sadhana Siddha. Then Vishwanath Thakur says that Sukdev Goswami speaks this verse with hair standing on end. He's in ecstasy, and no other devotee had so much control over him. So seeing the great fortune of Yashoda, Sukdev Goswami gets into ecstasy, hair standing on end, and then he is speaking this to explain to Maharaj Parikshit that no other devotee had so much control over him. So by repeating this 3 times, the non-attainment is meant to be emphasized. Although Lakshmi is even more eminent than those 2 servants, Brahma and Shiva, by having the rasa of Sakya Bhakti, service and friendship, and by residing on his body. So in terms of Prema, she's lower than Yashoda, who in her past life was Dhara, a sadhana siddh who got a boon from Brahma. But in truth, the good fortune of a prem of this sort cannot be obtained from Brahma, because he too is asking for it. And so his status is much lower than Yashoda's status. The same thing with Jiva Goswami also states. Therefore, the tenor is, in this way, Parikshit, Parikshit, now you can understand that Nanda and Yashoda are Nitya Siddhas. They are well known in the Shrutis, Smritis and Agamas. In the light of this, you had not put too much thought in your question. What spiritual? So, if you remember, Parikshit Maharaj is asking question to Sukdev Goswami that what kind of spiritual practice or sadhana they did in order to attain such a result, which is in the 10th canto 8th chapter 46th verse. And that is why my answer, beginning from Drona Vasunam Pravara 10:8:48, which only related to Nanda and Yashoda Amshas, was not too clear. So, in other words, it is not possible for Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj to be a sadhana siddh. They are Nitya Siddha, associates of the Lord. They are expansion. This is what beautifully summarized by Srila Prabhupada by saying that they are actually the expansion of the Ladani Shakti of the Lord. So Prabhupada is an expert. He has, if you'll see, Prabhupada has summarized, he has collected the essence of the commentary of all Acharyas. Prabhupada is saying the same thing in his purports. That's why I wanted to make sure that I would like to go through all the important statements of Prabhupada in his purport as a part of the multiple commentary of Acharyas. Okay, so now Srinath Chakravarti, so he says that Vimukti is dasyam, service in the mode of servitude, which is more specific than impersonal liberation, right? So there is a, obviously, Vimukti is, Prabhupada says, again now see, Prabhupada is putting in such a wonderful way. He's saying that it is Prem Bhakti to the Lord. Vimukti is a special Mukti, which is basically equivalent to Prem Bhakti. And Prem begins with Dasya Bhav. So here Srinath Chakravarti Thakur is saying that it is the mood of servitude. Brahma, Shiva and Lakshmi did not get even half the mercy that Yashoda got. So we can just imagine the extreme fortune of Mother Yashoda. And then in the Siddhanta Pradeep, it is stated that by narrating the result of Sri Yashoda's bhakti to Sri Krishna, Sukdev talks about what is best of all. The Lord Muktida gives liberation because of bhakti in view of his statement. A person who is fixed on me by bhakti yoga becomes fit for my mindset. But the devotees obtain a special mercy from him. Thus, a bhakti of this kind, Prem Bhakti, is even more difficult to obtain than liberation. Okay, so let's go to the next verse.
"21. Nayam sukhapo bhagavan dehinam gopika sutaha jnaninam chatma bhutanam yatha bhakti matam iha." Translation: The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the son of Mother Yashoda, is accessible to devotees engaged in spontaneous loving service, but he is not as easily accessible to mental speculators, to those striving for self-realization by severe austerities and penances, or to those who consider the body the same as the self.
Yeah. So Prabhupada states that if one follows in the footsteps of the Vrajvasis, then one attains Krishna without difficulty. Brahma and Shiva, they were actually attached to their prestigious position, and they had a sense of being the controller. That's why they could not attain this kind of position. This is what Prabhupada says. Then Jiva Goswami says, somehow through the association of his associates, he is not attained by any other means. So if you want to become a devotee of Krishna in Vrindavan, then you associate with his devotees who are Brajvasis, specifically Brajvasis, basically. That is the meaning here. Then by which persons is he easily attained? Like the son of divine coward lady is easily attained by those who have bhakti to him. In that way, those who have bhakti for Mahanarayan and the like are excluded. So Jiva Goswami is very specific here. Even the devotees who are following, or who the devotees of Mahanarayan, Mahavishnu, they are excluded from this list. Only the associates of Krishna in Vrindavan, they are the ones to be followed. So, and that is proper for Krishna is not easily attained by them. He is not easily attained by those who have body, nor by impersonal meditators, Dehinam and Jnaninam, because they think that the nature of his body is like everyone else's. He is not easily attained by those who are devotees of other forms of Godhead, because they lose respect for him when they ponder over his pastimes as a coward boy. So the devotees of the other forms of God, like Lord Ram or Vishnu or Narsimha, when they think of Krishna's pastime, they are bewildered and they lose respect for Krishna because they think that he's an ordinary coward boy. So even they are excluded from this list. Thus, it is fitting that he is easily attained by his devotees because they realize that his pastimes as coward are the best of all. So only the devotees who are convinced that Krishna is a coward, but those who are exclusively dedicated to his form as a coward boy. So Yashoda, however, never had a sadhana. The opposite makes no sense because it would mean that she reveres herself. Hence, he was easily attained by Yashoda. What more need be said? The implication is that Krishna is only the son of a Gopika. So the Gopika Sutta here specifically means that he was actually the son of Yashoda. That's how this. So this is evidence also for us to prove that Krishna not only took birth from the womb of Devaki, or he did not just appear in Mathura from Devaki, but he also actually appeared from Yashoda. This is a praman from the Bhagavatam about Krishna's appearance in Gokul, okay, to Mother Yashoda, because specifically the term Gopika Sutta is used. So he is the son of a Gopi. So this also suggests that he was easily attained by Nanda and by those related to him. Those who easily attained him can be determined by looking into the puja of the avarana, which is the circle of expansions of Godhead, and in the various mantras pertaining to him in reference to the observance of Krishna Janmashtami and so on. So basically, now the way, like this is one way he has proved that, from the Bhagavatam was Gopika Sutta. The another way to understand is that there are certain mantras which are chanted at the time of Krishna Janmashtami. And these mantras, in those mantras, there is a mention of Yashoda Maya and the Gwals, the Gwalpals of the Lord. So that sense also we can understand that these are eternal associates of the Lord. So how is it possible that Krishna can be the son of only Devaki? Actually, he is more the son of Mother Yashoda. So the drift is that I only told you the opposite of Drona and Dhara, who are the amshas of Nanda and Yashoda, at first, so that the pith of the matter might occur to you. So I just shared about the previous incarnation of Yashoda and Nanda in the form of Drona and Dhara at first, so that the pith of the matter, which means that the culmination could be the culmination of everything is understood by you. So this is what Sukadeva Goswami is clarifying now, that Nanda Yashoda, they are eternal associates. They are not just sadhana siddhas. And Drona Dhara, they are definitely sadhana siddhas, but they are the amshas of Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. So if you remember, there are different categories of the expansions of the devotees of the Lord. And one is the amshas, and these amshas basically means that the amshis, they expand themselves, and then when the pastime is over, then the amshas, they merge in the amshis. So these are just expansions of their original, so they're the counterparts of the original identities of the Lord devotees. And then another category is that sadhana siddhas, who are actually following the footsteps of these eternal associates in order to attain the position of attain a particular ras with the Lord in the spiritual world. So that is anugati, in those who are having anugati for the associates of the Lord. And the third kind is those who do not have any anugati, which, for example, Brahma, Shiva, Lakshmi. So they are given as examples. Okay, so Vishwanath Thakur, so he says that in the last clause of the verse, Sukadeva Goswami says goodbye to the son of Vikunda, the son of Kaushalya, and others. The synthetical connection. So he says he is not as easily attained by those three categories of person as he is by those who have bhakti in Sri Yashoda. Not only bhakti in Yashoda, but also the bhakti in those connected to her. The people of Raj, who are the ashray for the Vatsalya Bhav, Sakhya Bhav, or Kanta Bhav, which is romantic conjugal love affair. Therefore, accepting the sorrow of one's lowliness, a sorrow which involves an anugati, such as the anugati of the gopis, cannot be achieved by persons such as Brahma, Shiva, Lakshmi, and others who remain in their respective abodes and who have the conceit of being the controllers. Others have no anugati either because they do not receive instructions of that sort, or because they are not interested at all. So it's the same point which I just stated, that some have anugati for the associates of the Lord, and they attain that position. And then there are the expansions of the associates, which are amshas of the associates. And the third category is those who do not want to have those who do not want to have anugati of the associates. So like Brahma, Shiva. Okay, so Srinath Chakravarti Thakur, so he also states this point that he, the son of a gopi, is Bhagwan. So again, indirectly stating that Yashoda is actually that mother. And V. Raghav Acharya, so he says that he's attained by those who have bhakti. They are like Atma Pot, so whose boat for crossing material ocean is themselves, and they are Gyanis. So here Gyani in this context actually refers to the Gyan about the nature of the Lord, not in context of impersonal Gyan, but Gyan which is connected to Krishna and the devotional process to know him. So this is what Viragava Acharya says, Atma Pot, whose boat for crossing material ocean is themselves. Okay, verse number 22.
Swati Mataji, are you reading?
Yes.
You can go ahead if you're ready.
Krishnastu grihakrityeshu vyagrayam matari prabhu adrakshit Arjuna purvam guhyako dhanadhatmajau. Translation, Vishnu Prabhupada. While Mother Yashoda was very busy with household affairs, the Supreme Lord Krishna observed twin trees known as Yamana Arjuna, which is a former millennium, had been the demigod sons of Kuvera.
Yeah. So Sridhar Swami, he says, I don't think Prabhupada has a purport for this, right?
No.
Yeah. Okay. So Sridhar Swami says that in this section he speaks to assert this point. I mean, Sukadeva Goswami, he's speaking this verse to assert this point. Even though he's bounded by devotees, he liberates others. Okay. So Krishna is performing both activities simultaneously. And it's a very interesting thing, which is, I think, one of the Acharyas also comment. So this is the commentary by Sridhar Swami, and then Sanatan Goswami mentions that it's understood that she had gone elsewhere because she did not suspect that her son would budge. She never thought that he would be able to drag a motor. For example, this is her speech in Sri Vishnu Purana. Go if you can, you of very flickering endeavors. Sure enough, he went, though bound with rope, and independence in going is brought to light. Since independence was obtained at that time, or it signifies he is able to uplift the world, because the Lord in person, therefore he saw that he wanted to do a favor. So yeah, I mean, even though he's bounded up, but still he's kind of independent, and through that independence he's going to deliver the trees. The Jiva Goswami says, although that was only done by his Lila Shakti because of its own suitability, still upon seeing them he cogitated a fanciful idea. Since I am taking interest in my own bondage, it makes sense that I should look into their bondage also. So there's a wonderful point by Jiva Goswami that Krishna is thinking that, okay, now I am realizing what it actually means to be being bounded up by someone. Okay, and what to speak of these two trees who have been bounded since a long time. So I can understand their pain now, because now I am in pain myself, being bounded by Mother Yashoda. I can actually realize and I can understand their pain. So that's why this feeling of compassion was awakened in the Lord's heart. And obviously, I mean, Krishna also knew Narad Muni had cursed, all these things were there, but Krishna also felt like that during that period. That I can clearly understand my pain. So, and their pain, much more, because I know what I'm going through. So, a wonderful point. And then Baldev Vidyabhushan, he says, after delighting his mother by protecting her obstinacy in this way, Krishna made up his mind to delight Narada, who is solely devoted to him, by making his utterance come true. So Krishna wanted to delight Mother Yashoda, and he also wanted to delight Narad Muni, because he wanted to make his words come true. So in order to please Narad Muni, to protect his words, so that's how he actually delighted Narada also. While his mother, whose mind is only fixed on him, was engrossed in household chores to let him know about her anger, he saw two Arjuna trees. I am bound by my mother. I am indebted to her. I am unable to requite my debt to her. But I shall effect the release of two trees located at her entrance gate. This is what Krishna was thinking. That I am unable to repay the debt to my mother. But then let me do it in some different way, and let me release these two trees from bondage. So this is what Krishna was thinking. And Mother Yashoda was completely busy in household chores that time. So she was not around. Okay, so let's proceed to the last verse.
(23). So yeah, so Alisha Mataji, do you want to finish it?
Yeah, sure.
Read the last one. Okay.
Pura Narada Sapena Vrikshatam Prapito Madat Nala Kuvara Manigriva Iti Khyatau Shriyanvitau. In their former birth, these two sons, known as Nalakuvara and Manigriva, were extremely opulent and fortunate. But because of pride and false prestige, they did not care about anyone, and thus Narad Muni cursed them to become trees.
Okay, so there is no purport by Prabhupada, and so I just wanted to share Jiva Goswami and Baldev Vidyabhushan commentary, which is a very short one. So Jiva Goswami said that this was exactly what Krishna was thinking. It was part of the aforesaid cogitation of his. Right? So Krishna was already thinking to liberate these two trees here. And then Baldev Vidyabhushan says that I make angry souls who are thieves cry by binding them with the gunas. And I am bound with strings by my mother in a similar way. So this is what Krishna was thinking, according to Baldev Vidyabhushan. Yeah, all right. So I think with this we are able to finish the first chapter on the Damodar Lila. Mother Yashoda binds Krishna, and obviously it's a continuation which will be covering in the next class. I also wanted to share the wonderful details given by Kavi Karnapur, but what I will do is I will do it in the next class, because there are many details. It will take, maybe it may take around half an hour, or at least more than 15 minutes. So we can do it in the next class. But before ending the class, I wanted to share something very interesting. So if you remember in the last class, I was sharing that my realization, what I realized is that this grinding motor, actually, it was the manifestation of Srimati Radharani. Radharani actually personally appeared in the form of the grinding motor, because Yashoda had a very intense desire to bind Radharani and Krishna together, right? Right from their birth. I mean, when they saw Radharani, so since that time, Yashoda had a desire to somehow make Radharani eternal associate, of the Lord, so that they stay together always. I mean, this is just my realization. I am like sharing, not from any other commentaries or acharyas or anything like that, but this is what I realized. And that's how, because in the earlier days, in the younger days, or in the Komar Lila, they are very shy. They cannot express their emotions openly, right? They cannot do many intimate, confidential things openly, because they are very young. So somehow Radharani disguised herself as a grinding motor, and somehow she was tied by Yashoda. So Yashoda's desire was also fulfilled. At the same time, Radharani also got to have a personal, confidential meeting with Krishna. And I think, yeah. And then I also said about the reason I felt like this is because another aspect to this is the deliverance of the Arjuna trees, because the ukhal, or the grinding motor, is, as I said, if it is the manifestation of Radharani, then it is proved by the Lord that only through the mercy of Radha can the conditions will be delivered and liberated, right? So here we see that it was the ukhal, it was the grinding motor which touched the trees, and that's why they got liberated. So Krishna is proving the point that unless you approach Radha, you cannot approach me, you cannot be liberated. So that sense also, uh, it makes sense to me that the ukhal was actually the manifestation of Sri Radha. And then one more, I just recently thought about this, because every day we are reading the Damodar Ashtakam. So the last verse in the Damodar Ashtakam, if you see, Namaste stu damne spuradipti damne tvadiyodarayata vishwase damne namo radhikaya tvadiya priyaya namo nanta lilaya devaya tubhyam. So you will see that Satyavrata Muni is offering his obeisances to the rope. He's also offering obeisances to the belly, but he's not offering obeisances to the grinding motor, right? But indirectly, I mean, if you see, he's saying that Namo Radhikaya Tvadiya Priyaya. So to me, what I feel is that he's offering his obeisances to the grinding motor, but this time he's directly calling it as Sri Radha. Namo Radhikaya Tvadiya Priyaya. Because he's probably seeing that Radharani is there. And so kind of, so he's not saying that I offer my obeisances to the ukhal, but he's saying that I offer my obeisances to Srimati Radharani. Right? So this is an realization I just recently had. Okay, all right. So we'll continue on the commentaries in the next class. I think the next class probably may be the final one. Actually, there are many verses in this continuation of delivering the Yamal Arjuna trees, but I'm not sure if we are able to cover all these verses, because we have the special sessions only for the month of Kartik. I'm not sure about doing it in the month of December, because marathon is going to start. So that would be the priority. And so I think whatever we can cover in the next class, we'll cover. Otherwise, we'll see. Okay. So thank you all the devotees. Any comments or questions?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Anyone has any comment or question?
Prabhu, I have a question. That verse that I read, which says that even Brahma and Shiva and the goddess of fortune don't obtain what Yashoda Mai obtains, and we know that even to become Brahmaji, one has to perfectly do his occupational duty, prescribed duty for 100 lifetimes. So, what's the hope for souls like us?
Yeah. So the hope is already, I think, mentioned by the Acharyas. They have said that the only hope is to get the association of these devotees who are the associates of Krishna in Vrindavan. So that is the only hope. And so we have the association of Prabhupada, who is a Vrajvasi. And by following the instruction of Prabhupada, by serving him, by satisfying him, by fulfilling his desires, then I think we can attain that position. Obviously, the type of sadhana that we are doing is insignificant. I mean, like, what are we doing? Actually, we are not doing anything as such. And even if we are doing sadhana, but still our character is very far away from that ideal devotee, platform. We may be able to chant more rounds. We may be able to distribute a lot of books. We may be able to serve a lot. We may be able to read a lot. Okay, we may be able to give class a lot. But ultimately, if we are not transformed and we are conditioned by the modes of passion, ignorance, then what sadhana are we doing actually? Whatever sadhana we are doing, it is, I think, we are also committing offenses, and that's why we are still continuing in the cycle of passion and ignorance, even after doing the sadhana in terms of quantity. So the quality is also very important, and the goal of that sadhana is also important, which is basically to become surrendered to the desires of Guru and Krishna. So if that spirit of surrender is not coming, we are not willing to surrender. In fact, I just shared one remembrance from Siddhanta Prabhu's diary in one of the groups. And Prabhupada said the same thing. He said that, so he was asking Shrutakirti Prabhu a question that, so do you think a devotee is simple or crooked? And Shrutakirti Prabhu, I think any one of us will think that, okay, a devotee is simple, right? Because simplicity is the ornament of a devotee. So Shrutakirti Prabhu said that, well, yeah, Prabhupada, devotees are simple. But Prabhupada said, no, we are crooked. I mean, devotees are crooked. And then he gave his own example. So somehow I have cheated you all so that I can connect you all with Krishna. So I can somehow deliver you to Krishna. And so Shrutakirti Prabhu says that, yeah, in that sense, devotees are crooked. But unless and until we surrender to Krishna's desire, to Guru's desire, that to expect that Krishna will deliver us, that will, that is not something which is, we cannot expect that. So these things are all important actually. I mean, we have to see a holistic approach, not just focus on quantity or not just focus on the other aspects of bhakti, but overall, our development in Krishna consciousness, humility, and our nature, our tendencies, how we are behaving, how we are acting. I mean, these are very important, and definitely, personally, I think that I'm way far away actually. Even though I have a decent sadhana in terms of quantity, in terms of being steady, but I am definitely controlled by the modes of passion and ignorance to a lot of extent. So it seems to me that from our own effort, we are not able to not able to achieve anything as such. When we assist and when we please the associates of Krishna, I think then only we have a hope of going back to him. Otherwise, it seems extremely difficult. Yeah, I hope it makes sense. I mean, like there are multiple facets to it.
Thank you, Prabhu. It does, but that was a lie that you are affected by passion and ignorance. I don't believe that one.
No. I think the best pramana I have is my wife. You can ask her. And you can ask my parents and relatives because they know me so intimately, right? I'm staying with them. And those who know me very well, they know that how much I am overcome by these anarthas. So speaking is different and implementation is definitely, there is a lot of gap. Yeah. But at least, yeah, I mean, one thing that we understand is that we have, at least we increase our desire to hear and glorify the Lord and to associate with devotees more and more. So that way we can try. Yeah, I think it is very deep concept, extremely deep concept of this Raganuga Bhakti practice. I mean, there are devotees who think themselves they are associates of gopis or gopals or whatever it is, but somehow if they are not, they have not transcended a certain platform, especially like if they do not overcome the anarthas, then I think it's an imitation in one sense. We are very far from that stage, and I mean, even Rup Goswami also, he mentioned the nectar of instruction, or probably Bhakti Samrit Sindhu, that externally a devotee behaves like a sadhaka. Even if someone is at the platform of Raganuga, is practicing Raganuga Bhakti, and he's qualified, but externally they don't make a show of it, or they will not even make you realize that they are practicing Raganuga Bhakti. So they will only act as a sadhaka, and internally they are remembering, they are completely absorbed in the pastimes of the Lord, and they know what is their swarup also. But externally they are completely acting like a sadhaka. So you will not be able to understand that, right? But then there are devotees who are uh, neophyte in this practice, and they will talk about these things openly as if they are Raganuga Bhaktas. But so this is not the right way actually. What our Acharyas they have taught us, it's something which is internal. It is only between Guru, Krishna, and you, and maybe some very intimate like devotees or friends. Otherwise, this is something which cannot be spoken in an open way. Okay, and it does not even mean, so see, some devotees may be sharing about pastimes of Krishna with the gopis, but it does not indicate in any way that they have attained that kind of advanced stage, or they are advanced to a degree where they are speaking about. I mean, you see, Prabhupada didn't speak about Krishna's pastime with the gopis. Then and then Prabhupada follows, like our own Guru Maharaj. Like, there are so many disciples of Prabhupada. They don't speak about it so much, especially openly. So if you have a close group, intimate, like you have a confidential devotee group, and they're all advanced devotees, maybe you can discuss with them. But open assembly for all the devotees, I don't think this is a right thing to do. And so it's a balance of the mood of Prabhupada, as well as we also want to speak the reality about the tattva of the associates of the Lord. So we want to obviously make people understand who are the gopis, but we want to also do it in such a way that they understand at a particular level, particular stage. You cannot crash into Vaikuntha. Okay, so you cannot take things very cheaply. So just by speaking about these topics, it does not give you license to actually become the associate, one of the associates of the gopis, and reach that level, reach that platform. I think it's a very deep subject matter, and I feel that these topics should not be spoken openly. It should be restricted to a particular group, depending on the level of. I mean, see, the Guru knows what particular level you are reaching, and whether you are able to digest all these things, whether you have the capacity to digest, and whether you are extremely eager, and like the qualification required to for Raganuga Bhakti is the greed, intense greed you have for such topics. But the first and foremost is, obviously, you must be free from the anarthas. And even if you are free from anarthas, it does not give you the license to discuss about these things. So when the Guru gives permission, and it's done in a closed group, I think that is the best way how we can enhance and enrich our Krishna consciousness, instead of making a public show or speaking openly in front of all the devotees. I don't think that is the right way. And Prabhupada also avoided that completely. So we want to follow in the footsteps of Prabhupada and what our Gurujan they are doing. And so, I think that's how we have to be concerned about. At one point of time, Prabhupada said that don't bother about advancing in spiritual life. Just bother about pleasing the spiritual master, and the spiritual master will maintain you. This is a remembrance which is shared by Mahatma Prabhu in Siddhanta Prabhu's diary. And so he was saying this is a very important point to understand, that sometimes we don't even have to think about advancement. We just have to think about pleasing the spiritual master, and everything else will come with time. So Prabhupada's standard, his approach to this entire thing was, right from the beginning, he was consistent that the things will be revealed to us at the right time. We must have patience for it. So, he also told Bhakti Charu Maharaj that when he was asking about Siddhadeya, so Prabhupada said that, when you are ready, all these things will be revealed to you from a transcendental platform. So this is what Janivas Prabhu also shared the same thing. So it's a matter of wait and watch. And ultimately, we have to know one thing, that it is Krishna who is going to reveal to us finally, in spite of all the efforts that we are putting. A very typical case that we were discussing was Damodar Lila. So, right, so we also discussed that unless and until Krishna agrees to be revealed, he will not reveal. Unless and until he agrees to be bound, he will not be bound. So this is what we have to understand. That's why just I think it's most important just to try to please the spiritual master. And there are two aspects of pleasing the spiritual master, which is the internal cultivation and the external service, practical service. So these two things should go parallel. You cannot compromise on both of these things. So you'll see that some devotees, they are very much focused on internal cultivation, which is basically they only focus on bhajan and reading and discussing, but they are not active so much in terms of preaching, in terms of external service, practical service, tangible service. In fact, there are letters by Prabhupada where he says that just by reading you are not going to achieve anything. You have to do some practical and tangible service. So this is what we want to do. We want to balance both things. Externally also, we want to serve the mission of Prabhupada, or any form of service to Prabhupada's mission. And then we also want to increase our internal cultivation, go deep in that. So both things should go parallel. And that's why, if you remember, in Chaitanya Charitamrita also, Mahaprabhu tells Haridas Thakur, you are the best devotee. Why? Because of two reasons. Because you are chanting the holy name constantly, your achar and prachar, and you are also sharing it with others. So you are not only just so Mahaprabhu says that some devotees, they are only doing prachar, but they don't have proper achar. And some devotees, they have achar, but they are not doing prachar. But you, Haridas Thakur, you are doing both, right? So there is achar and prachar both, and that's why you are the best devotee. So I feel that this is the most important thing for any devotee connected to ISKCON. They have to focus on both the things that Prabhupada desired. Prabhupada also asks us to become absorbed in Krishna 24 hours a day. Many places Prabhupada said. Many places Prabhupada equated spiritual advancement with book distribution, with preaching, and how many devotees you are making. Okay. And in fact, today only I read a letter by Prabhupada where he says that when Jayapataka Maharaj and others were working for the Mayapur temple, so they wanted to, they were having shortage of cement, steel, and other things in order, for the construction. And so Prabhupada wrote a letter to them, and he said that you forget about chanting, dancing, and all that. When you are connected to, or when you are going somewhere which is a place, like for example, I think Jamshedpur is very well known for steel, manufacturing of steel. And so Prabhupada said that when you go there, your business, your focus should be to somehow make them donate steel, cement, and other things for the construction. Forget about chanting and dancing. See the way Prabhupada is actually. So we have to understand Prabhupada also, what he desired, what he wanted, according to timeless circumstance, in the right context. And so when we combine all these things together, we understand that external and internal focus both are important. You cannot neglect one of these. That's why Haridas Thakur was the best devotee. So I mean, this is my understanding. So I hope it makes sense. You have any comments or any further questions?
No, Prabhu, thank you.
Okay. So what we can do is we can stop the live streaming, and we can just discuss for a few minutes. Yeah, you can also stop the recording. stop the live streaming and the recording as well. Aditya, you are the host, right? Yeah, Aditya, you are there? Aditya, are you there? Okay, so I am not the host, and that's why I will not be able to turn off the live streaming. Aditya. Okay, anyways, Swati Mataji, you have any question or comment?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay, all right. So thank you all the devotees for joining. Hare Krishna, Dharma Pranam to everyone.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Then,